Thank you very much. Over to Praveena. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We can go to the next slide. I'm Praveena. I'm heading a charities operations in India, and it's called SWAN. We are based out of UK. The work we are doing in India is to do with making drinking water and sanitation available for marginalized communities who are, can be tribal communities who are remote. The government sanction cannot happen for all the villages in a panchayat and the kind like that, right? So the next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So I think Poonamji and Pia and even Ritika have gone in detail about the problem, right? In short, if I have to say something, in India, according to the JMP report, the WHO, the United Nations, all the reports, we have 96% of urban areas have covered in terms of improved water access. And similarly, is the 85% of rural India. But like Poonamji again mentioned, please next. The water crisis is not done. Every summer, we hear of water fights. Next. Recently, the summer has not yet begun, and in Goa, the government is already thinking of what to plan for the water crisis. The next. And as recent as a week ago, we see that groundwater crisis is threatening not just drinking water, even our food security, right? So if you have to step back a little bit and then articulate what the problem is not to do just with managing the water resource, but also to do with the fact that there is no water to manage. There is scarcity right now. Right? Next slide, please. The challenges, if we have to broadly classify, access still remains a challenge. A dry trap is still no access, right? And the access, whichever improved water access is said, it's really not actually allowing people to, get water conveniently at the time they need, right? And if we have pipelines, like Fred started out the session saying that we want to see how this entire group can participate in India's Jal Jeevan mission to make pipeline water as a dream come true for every citizen, right? But if you see the amount of pipeline work that has gone in across the country or the world, funded by the governments, funded by charities, anybody, the pipes are running dry, the taps are running dry, right? This is an undisputed problem. God knows how many billions of money has been gone into the good intention of making water available, but the taps are still dry. Next slide. The issue is that, especially with respect to India, is the fragmentation of administration of water resources. When I say that, in India, water is not looked at as one resource which is governed, but it is governed based on what is its utility. Like if it's irrigation water, it's the agriculture department looking at it's piped water, it'll be the public water, the public engineering works department that will look at it. If it is for lakes and other purposes, drinking water purposes, it's the drinking water ministry which is looking at it. Overall, water is not looked at as one resource that has to be governed in unison by these people, and decision making on water exploitation or management being done in consultation with all types of utilizations, right? And the next point remains, let's say even there is an understanding that water has to be looked at as a one monolith resource, which is divided among food production, and other purposes. There is no capacity that lies at the local government level. When I say local government, what is it? Country, state, within the state are provinces, within the provinces are gram panchayats. These most decentralized use of unit of governance, the water is not managed well, or rather it's not managed scientifically, right? And if somebody is doing it, all these cases are beautiful, best practices never scaled up. So the Jal Shakti ministry as such is an attempt to look at water as one resource and take it up, right? So the efforts are going on in those directions, but there is a lot more that has to go in. I think Frank Water with our partners has been able to work out a solution. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. So the solution, in our opinion, has been to make the high-tech science, technology available in the hands of people who are the decision makers at the community level, starting with the household. The woman who's a decision maker, she should be able to make the decision. The community workers, in our case, we have majority of the women who work with us through our partners, work in the Gram Panchayats within the confine of their villages. They do not have the ability or consent of the family to move out and be part of solution making. But they are the smartest people when it comes to understanding their problem and therefore the solution also. So whatever we have proposed as a solution allows participation of women in solution making, not just defining the problem, not just defining the needs of themselves, their villages, or anything. In this particular slide, we have with us Hina, who cannot move out of a village because the family doesn't agree for her to move out of the village, but still she can participate in architecting the solution for her village. Manjeet is again a warrior of sorts, I would say, who has been able to get programs of drinking water sanitation, technological thinking using GIS in solution architecture in states like Chhattisgarh, which is a predominantly tribal population. Anita, although her picture in the slide may look like a very innocent lady, she's the brain behind a lot of hydrogeological thinking, what kind of thinking has to go into making any WASH intervention sustainable. Next slide, please. So as I said, what is the solution to look at water as one resource and manage it well? All of us here, or majority of us here, who have been working in this sector know that we have heard of it enough number of times: integrated water resource management, integrated urban water resource management, rural water management, everything integrated, right? But it's always remained in the conferences, in the high teas and discussion between the PhDs, but the solution was never available in a tangible form, in a form where a person can actually implement it, right? So the next slide, please. Frank Water, in collaboration with Manjeet, Pooja, Hina, Anita, and another, engineering consulting firm, Aru, came up with a solution called WASH Connect app. So this has been a 2-year-long journey for all of us, Aru, Frank Water, and our partners. And in this journey, what we have found is that we all came up with a toolkit as a solution, like any other toolkit. Like I have been a consultant to UNICEF, World Bank, and a couple of other projects. We've always come up with some very beautiful toolkits with a lot of heart and sweat going into it. But these toolkits always stay in the beautiful cupboards of those organizations which have funded it and the ones who have created it. It's never used. Right?
Praveena, may I ask you to hasten up slightly?
Yeah. Okay. How much minutes I have, Poonam?
2.
Okay. So this tool is something which is available on the mobile phones of anybody who wants to make a solution. I will just quickly run through the tools formats. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Next. Yeah. What does this tool mean? Like we need, like everybody was speaking until now, data-driven decision-making is very important, right? So we have developed, there are enough forms, Google Forms, ODKs, Kobo, and the sort, which allows data collection at the mobile phone in a very accurate manner, even the geological data. So we have been using those tools to do the data collection, designing forms, and these data is used to look at a problem, and the decisions are made based on these granular data that is collected. And the solution with the communities whose problem we are trying to solve. Next slide, please. We have worked in the 2 geographies of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Next one. And we have piloted it here. It's a 6-step tool, wherein the need assessment, visits, the intense data collection, all of it is done through Kobo, and working on the Indian Space Research Organization's, open to all development platform with all the GIS data. Next. Overall, it has taken us only, it just requires a high school graduate and a couple of months of training for the entire thing to be rolled out. Next. Next. So this is the amount of data that we collect. I think SWAN will make all the decks available to everyone. It's all detailed: groundwater, flow, surface water, hydrogeological data collected by local people. Next. So we get a shape file based on the GPS locations, and these layers are superimposed on the satellite imagery, which is provided for free through Bhuvan platforms. You can skip to the 25th last slide now. Yeah, so maybe a slide before. So what happens is in this entire process, based on the data collected and the GIS platform, open source platform available, people are able to see where to drill a borehole. What kind of check dam should I put? What kind of intervention should I do that the surface water and the rainwater that is coming to me, which is already surplus, is available for me during the summer, right? In this way, what we have seen is that people have felt very, very inspired to be part of the solutions. And this entire journey, although we started out to just solve the WASH problems in communities, we see that it's also making women's participation in the entire ecosystem of solution designing very accessible. So, yeah, that is all.
Thank you very much, Praveena.